I'm delighted to be here with so many colleagues from all parties, with members of the British group of the Inter-Parliamentary Union and for police officers and others who are doing so much to end what is still an enormous problem in our society and around the world. I am here as Home Secretary, but I'm also a successor of William Wilberforce because I'm a Member of Parliament for Hull, and indeed the area where William Wilberforce was born, which is now a museum. And reading William's splendid book reminds me that actually it was Wilberforce's predecessor, a man called David Hartley, who was quite an interesting character. Wilberforce, this is the 230th anniversary of Wilberforce's election as a Member of Parliament. And in those days, there were 1,500 electors in Hull, all of whom expected 2 guineas to vote for you. And indeed, because they had 2 votes, if they're going to vote for you alone, they demanded 4 guineas, which is a kind of version of the alternative vote that probably won't return under our constitutional amendments. And David Hartley, who Wilberforce beat, Wilberforce 20 years of age when he stood, 21 when he was elected, Hartley was one of the very few members of Parliament who had spoken up against the slave trade. And indeed, as William points out in his book, it's probably from Hartley that Wilberforce, very young and his opinion still forming, took that as his great issue. When we in Hull celebrated the bicentenary of the abolition of the slave trade in 1807, we determined that there had to be a legacy for the future. And the establishment next to the house where Wilberforce was born, of the Wilberforce Institute for the Study of Emancipation and Slavery, is one part of that. The other was a huge petition organised in Hull and around the country about drawing attention to the fact that people trafficking, the slave trade in effect, still continues. And I wouldn't like to say the government has been perfect on these issues. We have the action plan, we renew it every year. Of course, as Wilberforce recognised in those days, because of the nautical dominance of the United Kingdom, you could do things in this country and you would have an effect around the world. We will only solve this problem internationally, and that's why we're proud to have signed up to the Council of Europe Convention on this, and why the UN Convention is equally important, and why we need to keep this at the forefront of parliamentarians, of their priorities across the world. And that's where Anthony comes in and his all-party group. Anthony Steen wouldn't pretend to have done as much as Wilberforce, but I believe in his own, I believe in his own way, by ensuring that we increase awareness of this problem, which many people felt was ended 200 years ago. He has done more than anybody in Parliament, and he'll be leaving Parliament soon, so this is a great testimony to his passion here. He's done more than anybody to bring this issue to the forefront in the 21st century. And I just think this exhibition and events like this will ensure that whichever party is in power in whatever country, no one is going to be complacent about this issue, because whilst the All Party Parliamentary Group is around in this place, I do assure you from personal knowledge of being Home Secretary that this group does a tremendous job. They're a credit to Parliament and a credit, I believe, Anthony, to the cause that you've been so passionate about for so many years. So it's my pleasure to eventually cut a ribbon and open this exhibition.
Well, Anthony Allen, ladies and gentlemen, this is a true all-party issue, and therefore I'm delighted to express the same sentiments and very much support what the Home Secretary Alan Johnson has just been saying, and to congratulate the All Party Parliamentary Group on bringing this exhibition together, which I think people will find both fascinating and disturbing, because the extent of human trafficking today is one of the worst aspects of human life in the 21st century, and it's something that we must dedicate ourselves to doing a great deal about in the years to come. I do want to pay tribute to the work of Anthony Steen on this, as Alan has just introduced. Anthony intends to retire from the House at the coming election, because you really have been a mainstay of that all-party parliamentary group, and of a lot of the work of Westminster in connecting with other parliaments on this issue. And in fact, I think you have persuaded 9 other parliaments across Europe to set up similar all-party groups. You have produced your Anti-Slavery Day legislation, which you have referred to earlier, and so you have been an absolutely tireless champion of this issue, and I think will be much missed in Parliament on that score. But I know that other people will take up the baton, and it must remain a genuine all-party issue and something that future governments of whatever political complexion must do something about. Anthony wondered what Wilberforce, who I wrote my book about, would think about it today. He would be appalled today. He'd be very proud that the Home Secretary and the Shadow Foreign Secretary both came from Yorkshire, both represented Yorkshire constituencies. But that would be as far as his pride went on this issue. He would be appalled that today, according to one of the estimates of the UN a few years ago, there are 27 million people living in some kind of slavery or bonded labour. That is more than twice as many people as all the Africans transported against their will across the Atlantic in the whole of the 18th century. And so that, terrible as it was in our history, is now exceeded in numbers by the scale of the problem today. And of course, in Wilberforce's day, it was not illegal, and his campaign was to make it illegal. The challenge we face now is that human trafficking is already illegal, but as the trades in arms and drugs in the world also show, there will be a trade, illegal or not, as long as there is an end use for that trade. And that is where awareness comes in. Building people's awareness of the true horrors of human trafficking is one vital tool, in addition to any laws that we can pass, to try to make sure that it is diminished and then eradicated. So I hope everyone will take this exhibition extremely seriously. I know there are sections on child trafficking, on sex trafficking, on forced labour, on domestic servitude, on the many aspects of human slavery and trafficking today. So I congratulate Anthony and the All Party Group, and along with Alan Johnson, wish the exhibition well and hope that it will spur even more people to take up this issue in the future. Thank you very much indeed.